This is not a story about a monster who appeared from nowhere. This is a story about the conditions that created him, the humane nation that failed democracy, and the millions of ordinary people who chose to follow him into darkness. November 11th, 1918, the guns of the Great War fell silent. They called it the stab in the back. It was a lie. But lies in the right conditions can change the world. The Weimar Republic, Germany's first democracy, was born in defeat. Its founders signed the armistice. Its founders accepted the peace treaty. In the minds of millions of Germans, democracy and humiliation were the same thing from the very first day. The Treaty of Versailles demanded 132 billion gold marks in war reparations. Germany was 13% population. Humiliation was total. The resentment would last a generation. In this humiliated, defeated nation, a young Austrian corporal returned from the front. He had been a mediocre student, a twice-rejected art school applicant, a homeless man who sold watercolors in Vienna streets. But the war had given him one thing, a sense of destiny. In 1919, the young corporal was sent by the German army as an informer to investigate a tiny political party in Munich called the German Workers' Party. He attended their meetings in a back room of a beer hall. He didn't like their organization, so he took it over. In January 1933, the conservative German politicians who appointed a Chancellor believed that they were smarter than him, that they were using against the months of Politz better than this dare with uns Cape all over this cope of oath. He discovered he had a gift. When he stood to speak, something happened in the room. People stopped talking, people leaned forward, people who had dismissed him became transfixed. He was not a narrator by training. He was something more dangerous, unnatural. What did he say? He blamed. He blamed the Jews for Germany's defeat. He blamed the Marxists. He blamed the November criminals who signed the armistice. He gave desperate people an enemy a face to put in their pain, and desperate people in Poland an enemy to terminate. In January 1923, France and Belgium occupied the German industrial heartland, the Ruhr, because Germany had fallen behind on reparations payments. What German monarchs spared catastrophe inflation. By November 1923, $1 US was worth 4 trillion German marks. The middle class saw a lifetime of saving become worthless in weeks. Their fury was volcanic. Into this inflationary crisis, the young leader of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Anti-Stapi, saw his opportunity. Inspired by his way they won the previous year, he decided to launch a premium. He fired a pistol into the ceiling. The T cut on a chair and shouted at the national lasher, "We should be gone." The stench of crowds in Bream television business didn't know whether to laugh or flee. He had planned for everything. 16 Nazis and 4 policemen died. He was arrested. His push had failed completely. Or had it? The New York Times declared him a spent force. They were catastrophically wrong. Landsberg Prison. A comfortable cell. Visitors bringing flowers and cakes. Fan mail arriving daily. Prestrorica into a bungalow.
Released in December 1924, he emerged into a Germany that had temporarily stabilized. The economy was recovering. The Hyperinflation had a new currency. His party's vote share collapsed from 6.2%, and he was irrelevant. For now. October 24th, 1929. Wall Street crashed. In New York, fortunes disappeared in an afternoon. In Germany, the cons were even more catastrophic because Germany rebuilt entirely on American loans.
By 1932, 6 million Germans were officially unemployed. The real number was higher. The Weimar government, no answers. No hyperlies. When they're marching through theory and then marking through theory. In September 1930, Germany held elections. 2 years early, see Friedrich's point of the further now with 6 million employed, in free fall. They said in sample. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda chief, was a genius of manipulation. Club-footed, bitter, brilliant. He understood that people don't vote for policies, they vote for feelings. He gave him fear. He gave him Wehrmacht's savior. The Nazi message was surgically targeted. To farmers, the Republic abandoned you. To the middle class, the Jews, to sacrifice was betrayed. To the young, your future was stolen. Every one man can save Germany. The Nazi rallies were political theater on an unprecedented scale. Thousands of torches, precise parade formations, the slaughter flags missionaries. Slaughter designed to overthrow and it wasn't politics. He used the airplane, new, modern, and exciting, to fly from rally to rally in a single errand day. While the Weimar being put in shuffled between train stations, he appeared from the sky in 5 cities and 1 afterlives. He called him that Bohemian Corporal. But the system was running out of alternatives. November 1932, the Nazi vote fell from 7% as its Motten that was stalling to fight replaced. Even irreverently depressed, his Friedrich knew controlling. Franz von Papen, former Chancellor, conservative Radicracker Vincent Duvergo, their Chancellor, could be managed, considered to Holberg the Powers. Hippapier would be Fipowerist, whose would be managed in 2 months. January 30th, 1983, morning, the Presidential Palace in Berlin, and Paula Hindi, 4 years old, have advertising and advisement, has been a their appointment. Adolf Hitler be Chancellor des Legal Handlers Roy. Some with joy, some with terror, all of them knew. Within 4 weeks of his appointment, the Reichstag, Germany's parliament, was on fire. February 27, 1933, young Dutch communists rested the scene where the youngster remained disputed. Whether insipid the cane of rest. The Reichstag fire decree was signed by Hindenburg the next morning. It suspended all civil liberties in Germany. Freedom of the press, gone. The right to assembly, gone. Legal protection Bluretz was disbanded. Within days, political opponents being arrested by the thousands. The first concentration camp opened in Dachau in March 1933 to put a nuisance. Communists, socialists, trade unionists, anything might organize resistance. 23rd and 30th, the Enabling Act. The Reichstag voted to give David a chance or rot for 4 years. The Nazi parents were Forbes voted no. The Parliament to itself many gonna come. By July 1933, 6 all political parties except the Nazi Party were banned or dissolved. Trade unions of the AVEB was controlled. The Judiciary was being equivalent with the Mentu Dran Foreign Streets the Wempemerist. August 2nd, 1934. President Hindenburg died. Within hours, the office of President and Chancellor were merged. He was now furious, sequero torsawitzi, not to Germiotsit, not to German personally. How it had happened, how a failed Austrian order can capticum and after 6 states of a military in years, 15 June, 6 Latarpi Bushran, 15 years, the Amtrin's monthly praise of Jurgen. The first condition, defeat and humiliation. Germany's story went on was and until the final Warwicks and Solms came out once a few the Vendum Krine find a new government. The very Senegal West. The second condition, hyperinflation. The 1923 inflation didn't just destroy savings, it destroyed trust. Trust in institution, trusting further Europe was appearing to itself. The third condition, the Great Depression arriving before the wounds of hyperinflation had healed. The fourth condition, a democracy too young and too fragile to survive the storm. The Weimar Republic was only 14 years old in 1933. The fifth condition, the fate of the left. German communists and social democrats hated each other almost as much as they hated the Nazis. Stalin had the Georgianist party to the primary enemy, calling him social fascist. The sixth condition, the conservative establishment's catastrophe miscalculation. The German industrialists, aristocrats, conservative, polishing Levy used the argument of the movement as it in discarding. They could and beneath all these conditions, the humiliation, the inflation, the depression, the weak democracy, divided left and myopic right, there was something older and dark anti-Semitism. The hatred of Jews in Germany and Europe was not invented in Nazis. They found it. April 1st, 1933. A nation without Jewish business was organized by the Nazi government. SA men stood outside Jewish-owned shops to intimidate customers. And this was from second step in the skip-durable. The Nuremberg Laws, September 1935. Jews were stripped of German citizenship by legal decree. Marriage and the relations with Jews were legalized. The entire apparatus of the modern state, law, corporal roxys, was mobilized. While persecution intensified at home, the immediately largely looked away. The 19th of Venerate as a showcase as a New Germany. The world came, some more misdirects. Appeasement had begun. November 9th, 10th, 1938, Kristallnacht Bernstrasse, Nosa goes buried, to his business destroyed. Yurisa may use Pogoras or any state. The economic recovery the regime achieved in the early years was real. Unemployed fell from 6 million to near zero during 1938. Thought it fell because of Das military misinformed. 138 Austria was annexed the Anschluss without a shot. Welcomed by cheering crowds in Vienna. September 1938, the Champion 19 Slovak and the Sturchlin, the Chandelier and Slander Permit. September 1st, 1939, German forces invaded Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war. The Second World War began from 2.6% in 920 years. The Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others, including Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, and gay men, was the ultimate consequence of the what does it take to create a genocide? Now uniquely evil evivits juris, but or deeply honors, division efficient prakibless, and empires fischmefakrental against Jurgen Bullen prisoners. The White Rose, a small group of Munich University students who distributed anti-Nazi prey. Thousands of ordinary Germans is worth ghastly. May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally. The man who promised national restoration sided over the complete destruction of a piece of the country the Führer had died by did earn. In Nuremberg trials, November 1945 to October 1946, for the first time in history, the leaders of the defeated nation were held to be accountable for war crimes and crimes against humanity. 12 were sentenced against it. The West German economic miracle of riches winter of the 1950s was built deliberately on the lessons of Van Yard's independent central bank. Strong social interests of the federating states, Rexus and Balanzé, watch monsters rise. The lessons of the Weimar Republic and Hitler's rise are taught in schools across the democratic world, but the lesson's not simple. It is not, watch out for charismatic speakers, it's watch what happens marketing speakers and feel people. The economic preconditions for Hitler's rise were not unique to Germany in the 1930s. Max Luna's sturdy snort of savings, institutional failure, scapegoating minorities for saviors, systemic problem, The survivors of the Nazi era did not speak much about it at first. The trauma was too large. The shame of both the perpetrators' shame and by the survivors' shame. It was their driver Tyson who began to humplack. There are fewer than 250,000 Holocaust survivors still living. Within one generation, living memory of this event will end. We are the generation it transfers to. 1928, 5 years before power, the Nazi Party received 10,000 votes, whose with the presidential rate received 6.4 million. They reached funded by each data point is millions of individual human beings. Between the ballot box and the gas chamber, there were thousands of step choice made by someone. The bureaucrat who filled in the form, the train driver who drove the train, the guard who opened the gate, the neighbor who did not warn, the politician who did not ruin for. What would have stopped it? Historical counterfrontals are danger grieve, a strong democratic to toothless to finding democracy, a central bank insulated from politica impressor, a substitute incident the German people paid an almost unimaginable price for what 7 million German military did. 1.5 million German civilian Germans felt endured. Entire cities were expelled in 40 nation Germany. The honest question is not would I have resisted, but what have I done to ensure the conditions that require resistance never develop? Post-war Germany built what may be the world's most thorough historical reckoning, mandatory Holocaust education. The criminalization of Holocaust in Berlin, on swingstone sidewalks, not as self-punishment. In nearest East downtown's Brex was stirred ran the Gaudies of see it inside you across your scheme. Nazi party shits, there are 100 kurz for dime purse, your finger panima free. It began in 1914 with the World War. In 1919, a peace treaty sowed the seeds of catastrophe. Economic collapse followed. In 1933, a chancellor was appointed. The German army generals who swore the personal ovation they faced and wanted one rule obedience. The Valkyrie plot of July 20, 1933, love with Kleiderbling Hoodies of German officers officials. It nearly succeeded. Anne Frank heard her diary written hiding answer to 1942 at an boarding suit and did the Berbertin Bells afterwards different word Schulenberg and Friedrich before ages 50 and free and liberation. The economists who designed